How many gallons?
Hey, everybody. 500. Hey, everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen. Maybe closer to 1,000. We got a good show for you today, although we are late. We got the great Bill Varney joining us here in a few minutes. He's just getting his camera warmed up, and I'm just letting y'all know I'm here. I'm sorry that we're 45 minutes late, but I've been at the customs port captain's office since 9 o'clock this morning trying to clear this boat I got off of a freighter, and we got her cleared with the paperwork. Now we got to wait for 4 hours for them to deliver the paperwork so we can leave Ensenada and drive the boat up to Los Angeles, California. Very exciting day here. It is Okuma Wednesday. We always talk about Okuma products on Wednesday. Today's no different. Bill Varney and I will show you some cool products. Bill Varney's going to be joining us in a few minutes. But gang, I just want to thank you all for watching that video last night. My goodness. I couldn't believe how many views we got in just a short time. Over 20,000 views on that video of us unloading this boat off the ship last night. So thank you all very, very much for watching that video. We've got a huge announcement. May 1st, the Anthony Shea Lifetime Conservation Award Banquet for ccacalifornia.org is going to be in Long Beach, California. And it's going to be a phenomenal dinner. All the proceeds go to ccacalifornia.org. You guys should all come to dinner with us. The thing that's amazing to me is how the industry shows up to these events. Let's not let them down. We, the people, need to show up to the CCA banquet. We're celebrating Dave Pfeiffer, who's been with Shimano for a very, very long time. We're celebrating him. He's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award for conservation. And it means a lot to me, this dinner, because it's we gave it to my father a few years back when he was still with us. So it's kind of a big deal. And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bill Varney. Welcome.
Woo! Oh no, I froze again.
Yep, no camera, Bill.
Let me unfreeze.
No camera, Bill, they call him. I'm on a boat in Ensenada, and Bill's in his house in Colorado. And there he is. Look at the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. But now you got no sound. So we go from no video to no sound. Far out. This is fun. But yeah, we gave the Lifetime Achievement Award away to my father a few years back, so it means a lot to me. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Dave. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, bro.
It's a miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle.
It is.
I was just letting everybody know about the CCA dinner. The Lifetime Achievement Award, Anthony Shea Conservation Award, being given to Dave Pfeiffer on May 1st in Long Beach, California, right across the street from the Long Beach Airport. I would love for everybody to join us. It would be a wonderful evening. My table's already full. Todd Maner's table's full. My sister's table's full. But you know what we got? We got extra tables for those of you that want to join us, and we could call it the Your Saltwater Guide table. We could call it the Booger Eater table. We call it whatever you want. Just come and be a part of, because all the proceeds go to ccacalifornia.org. Right, Bill?
Exactly. And I wanted to let everybody know also that I talked to Chris the other day, Ranchadera, and he said that if you want to be assigned to, find a great group. So you want to come by yourself or with another person. You want to find a great group, a great table to sit down. You can just call him or email him directly. If you just go to ccacalifornia.org, you'll find his contact information there. And you can just contact him directly and he'll put you in touch with whatever type of table that you want to be with. So one thing that's really great, Dave, is that not only as anglers can you go and you can rub shoulders with other people, not only in the industry, but also great anglers there. But also, if you have your own company and you've got a product, you want to promote the product, you want to talk to some of the manufacturers there while you're at the at the dinner, which is great. That's a great time to meet these people, talk a little bit about your product, and maybe push your product along. So get a hold of Chris if you want to have any, if you want to get matched up with any specific group or specific table.
Yeah, now you got all kinds of cool things. I'm trying to load your pictures because, like I told you, I was in the customs building for the last 3 hours, and we're not even close to being ready to leave. We have to wait now. The boat, this is an amazing thing. The boat doesn't even hit the soil in Mexico. It came on a freighter from Florida. But the fact that it got taken off and dropped into the water in Ensenada Harbor, now the boat has to be cleared through Mexico. So, makes no sense. We just did 3 hours, and all that did was get us to the point where now we can wait till 4 o'clock to get the proper papers to leave the harbor. And you know what's really weird? They won't let us get fuel till we have this paper, so we're stuck here. We're going to be just sitting here waiting for this paper till 4 o'clock. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is, gang. It's part of doing business in Mexico. It is what it is. It doesn't make sense to me
Yeah,
either, though. But I'm trying to load up these pictures. But you got some news about a new governor, maybe?
yeah. Steve
Talk about
Hilton.
that while I'm loading these.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting yesterday that at the Huntington Beach Pier, Steve Hilton, who was one of the assistants to the previous, I guess it's the Prime Minister of England, so very knowledgeable about different subjects. Emigrated to the United States, became a U.S. citizen, I think, in 2021. Lives in California, and just has had it up to here with all the stuff going on there. So he decided that he wants to try to be governor, and he announced that yesterday in Huntington Beach. So that sounded really interesting, and it should be really interesting to see, for both the Democrat and the Republican Party and the Independent, who comes together to be the nominees for California governor. So looking forward to having some changes come about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Hopefully, something changes because there's a young lady that tried to become the president of the United States who these guys are going to have to run up against. And according to the media, she is leading the pack by massive amounts, kind of like what they told us about when she was running for president.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any one of these polls, whether it's a fishing poll or a political poll, that are ever accurate. They're so inaccurate. And I've noticed one thing about the polls is that if there was one or two pollsters, it'd be kind of easy to figure out whether they're accurate or not. But there's like dozens and dozens of pollsters out in the country who came out with all these different numbers all over the country. Remember the one where they said that President Trump had fallen behind in certain states where he ended up winning the states by twice as many votes as his competitors. So a lot of this stuff, I don't know how accurate it is. And there are a couple people that are accurate, but they're not talking yet about the California race.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but hey, the weather is beautiful. I see a lot of fish. A lot of people are posting. One of our members posted yesterday. He had two legal halibut off the beach, a couple of really nice ones. It sounds like the fishing is starting to get red hot along the beach. What do you think?
It has really literally warmed up at the beach. It's really it progressive. I mean, it's been good all winter. There has been occasion where it's been spectacular, but really in the last couple of weeks, we had a little bit of a water drop. That water temperature came right back up. And what's really interesting, and folks on Thursday's game plan will get a complete overview of all of this so they can base their fishing in this next week at the beach up against it. But what's really great news is that there were quite a few grunions seen up in the Santa Barbara area staging offshore, but not really many came ashore. I think a lot of us up there really believe that maybe that was because of the water temperature was still a bit cool. But over the last week, the water temperature has gone up 2 degrees in the Santa Barbara area, which means that this grunion run coming up this weekend, that's going to run through Sunday night through Wednesday night, should have a good grunion run up in that Santa Barbara Ventura area and bring those fish even closer to shore. And, we're talking about sea bass, halibut, striper, all of those are going to be following those grunion in the next run.
So you don't think it's because the grunion are extinct?
The grunion are not extinct, I
No
guarantee
way.
you. And
Wow.
here's something interesting, Dave, about the grunion that I've been talking about for a while now. One of the biggest runs last year was at Venice Beach. And if you ever gone to Venice Beach, like when I was a kid, we used to call Venice Beach Venice Beach. It's where the sewer meets the ocean. The water is so dirty and turbid in that area. It has been like that for really a long time. I mean, since 1888, the Hyperion plant's been pumping poop out there basically. But still, those grunion, they're so strong. They came in and made a huge run there last year. Was super excited about that. Well, one of my beach guys who's been up there for the last 3 runs has said not only has Venice Beach had these incredible grunion runs where there's so many you can't even walk on the sand, but the fishing around the Venice Pier has just been phenomenal for yellowfin croaker and big barred surf perch along with halibut. So they're not extinct. There's way more today than really I even saw like 40 years ago. It's a great sign that they're so healthy.
Yeah, Ron and I down here in Ensenada, we saw massive amounts of them on the beach the last couple of days. The pelicans are just absolutely gorging themselves down here in Estero Beach area. There's so much life on the beaches right now down here and up in Southern California. People are talking about stripers. I saw 4 different guys catch stripers the last couple of days, which was pretty cool. And Bill, you're frozen solid again. Frozen solid. So gang, I just want you to understand game plans come out tomorrow. There's so much going on. Captain Al's talking about bluefin offshore. There was a lot of that fish. We'll be talking about where that stuff's at. Big bonita, that 6 to 15 pound bonita biting down by the, well, we won't tell you exactly where, but you'll be able to see it on the game plans. We're coming back into a different moon phase here, so that sea bass hasn't gone anywhere. It's at the Channel Islands. It's at Catalina. That stuff's going to pop right back up. You guys got to pay attention to the game plans, gang. And Elliot and I, we've been pumping out a lot of videos trying to get you guys more involved in the website. I don't understand where you're getting your information from if you're not a member of your saltwater guide. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to give you an absolute free look at the website. You can sign up. You can give me a call at 949-374-0786. I'll give you an absolute free look, and you can check it all out for yourself and see if it's even worth it. But I'm telling you, once you get in there and look at the community, we got so many community members that join us on the show here every day. There's our good friend Kevin Cubby Paul. Kevin Cubby Paul, let me tell you something, buddy. I'm kind of wishing that I wasn't back in this boating thing. I've been stuck here in Ensenada now for 3 days. We just went through 2 hours at the, well, a little over 2.5 hours at the port captain's office to find out that now the boat's been cleared, but we won't be able to get the paperwork till 4 o'clock this afternoon to get some fuel to try to drive to LA tonight. I can't wait to drive in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night. I miss those days. I'm so excited. And yeah, yep. Somebody told me, hey, when you start doing this podcast thing every day, you're going to miss that boating thing. You're going to miss it. Well, I got that taste washed out of my mouth this morning. I'll tell you what, Kevin, when they dropped the boat in the water last night, all the batteries were dead. We were dead in the water, couldn't even start the thing up. Just so much fun. Ron's having the time of his life. He's getting to see so much fun stuff. You're going home today? Good. I'm so happy. I'm glad. But you need to call me after the show and tell me what happened. I'm sure when I'm talking about this garbage I'm talking about, it means nothing to you. You're just trying to live another day. So really, in the big scheme of things, that's what's going on here. But gang, you got to check out all the great Okuma products. You want to go over to Okuma and check out all their great products. Go to okumafishingusa.com. There's the QR code. We're going to show you some products. in a few minutes. I'm going to show you the Kabbalah reel. That thing is phenomenal for fishing rockfish. It is an absolute beast of a reel, holds a phenomenal amount of line. And what's going on right now with the bluefin and the rockfish and everything else, that Kabbalah kind of rolls right into everything we're doing. If you looked at what the Polaris Supreme and some of the other boats did last night, the night before, and the night before, that bluefin's back. And then one of the 4-pack charter boats had a 200 plus pound bluefin on the kite yesterday. Here we go. Michael Folks and I were talking about how the season hadn't got started yet. Everything's running a little bit late. Well, not really. In the big scheme of things, we really didn't even start catching any of this kind of fish until July. So we're way ahead of the game right now, gang. And Mike Laus has that trip. We'll try to get Mike Laus on the phone again. He's got that trip tomorrow night on the Pacific Dawn. He's going out last night when he was, or yesterday afternoon when he was talking to us. He was going out with 3 people bluefin fishing. It's wide open. And if you want to know, him and Aliar are tight. So wherever Aliar is fishing, Laus will be fishing. And if Mike Laus finds it, Aliar will be fishing next to him. Those two work like 2 peas in a pod. So you're going to be on that fish, or you're going to have the greatest opportunity to catch that fish. And Mike Laus, we're going to give him a call and see if he's got a few minutes to talk to you guys about what's going on. Bill Varney's having some computer problems or something, so I don't know where he is. He was on here for a minute, but he's gone right now. But let's see if we can get Mike Laus to talk to us here on what's going on. Let's see. Let's check it out. We're giving him a call. This is all live, gang. It's all live. Ron, did you have fun at the port captain's office today?
Amazing.
Wasn't that
amazing?
Absolutely mind-numbing.
The people were wonderful.
Everybody's helping you, wants to work with you.
Yeah, lots of hugs.
Yeah, just a lot of love going on there. Looks like Mike Laus might be too busy getting the boat ready for the big trip tomorrow night. Maybe he'll call back. He usually does when he sees that he missed a call from us. Let me show you guys this Kabbalah reel real quick. It's going to be a quick video. It's not a long video. I think it's 11 seconds or something. But I just want you to see the crankability of this reel, the big power handle. Check this thing out. Do we got it? What happened? I thought we had it. It should be playing. Hello. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. I tried to play a video, and yeah, it just said, nope, too much happening here. There it is. That's the Kabbalah reel. Look at that power handle. When you got that reel full of braid, that thing is a machine. 2-speed, click it into low gear, wind your rock cod up from the bottom, or you drop a slow pitch Carnata jig down to that bluefin and what hook up. That'll handle those 150-pound fish no problem all day, every day. There's so much cool stuff coming out of that Kabbalah. You got to check it out, gang. Go over to Okuma Fishing USA, and then when you're in there, if you put in the code Kabbalah Dave 20 right there on the bottom of the screen, you're going to save $20 on that reel. What a great deal, right? $20 off the reel. Check it out. Go to AkumaFishingUSA.com. Check out all the great products over there. The Kabbalah, it's going to do everything you want it to do and more, and it's going to be great for fishing for that. Fishing for that rockfish or fishing for that bluefin right now. So go check it out, gang. You won't be disappointed. And then I don't know what happened to Bill Varney. Can't get him on here. Let's see if we can get. I got another special guest just called in, and ignored him because I was trying to get the thing going here. Hold on a second. He may answer. Todd Maner? No. Nobody wants to talk to us today. I don't know.
Hey guys, you reached Captain Todd
Yeah.
Marine.
He just called like 18,000ths of a second ago, but now he doesn't have time to talk to us. But gang, as far as fishing goes, the table's set. Everything's ready. Looks like Ron was looking at the weather, the wind. It doesn't look like there's much wind tomorrow. Again, if you want to go fishing tomorrow, if you want to go out with Mike Laus, try to catch some of those bluefin, you can get out there on the boat with Mike. His phone number, you can call him directly. Maybe he'll answer you since he's not answering me. Give him a call at 949-874-4485. And that's how you're going to get a hold of Mike Laus. And then he's got that trip going out tomorrow night. They're going to try to leave the dock at 6 o'clock. If you could get there earlier, they'll leave earlier. But they're running right down to where that fish is at. If you want to know where that bluefin's biting at, you can see all that and much more over at our game plans tomorrow that are going to come out around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then you can see exactly what's happening. But if you want to go do it on someone else's boat and just take your bluefin, drop them off at the processor, go home, come back and pick them up, that's not a bad deal. Fishing on the Pacific Dawn. Beautiful rig. Captain Mike Laus, a great fisherman and just an all-around great human being. You'll have a good time hanging out with him. And check all that out. And hopefully we get Bill Varney back here in a little bit to talk about all the stuff going on in the surf. But like I was saying before we lost Bill, I'm seeing guys posting pictures of stripers every flipping day. We had two guys post pictures of 4 fish in the last 4 days. It's 4 stripers. That's a bucket list type fish in Southern California to catch off the beach. And then all the grunion, like Bill's saying, you're not allowed to take them right now. We know that. But the cool part about it is it brings all that fish into the beach. It just brings halibut and corvina and striped bass, all the other fish that like to hang out there in the surf. And just remember something else. These people that are telling you there are no sand bass, they're surf fishermen. They fish in the surf. Sand bass don't live it. Yeah, I know. Your sister's brother's aunt's cousin caught a sand bass in the surf the other day, and that was great. But that's not where they live. So you're not going to see a massive amount of sand bass being caught in that surf. So that's why you're not seeing it. But there are sand bass everywhere. Zillions and zillions of them. Captain Al Clower is telling you on a good day he catches 100 of them in the back bay when the bite is on, when the tide is right, when everything's good. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. He's back. But no sound. He's kind of back, but he ain't back. Got no sound. No sound, Billy. Must be having a snowstorm or something there. We got no sound at all. Nada por nada.
Still not.
Look at
there.
you. Look at you.
Good. I apologize. I'm sorry. My whole system crashed. Had to reboot everything. Golly gee willikers. Oh,
It happened.
computers.
Here you are.
So anyway, we're back.
All right.
So yeah, surf fishing has been really good, and we got this really small swell. I'm sure it's really small down there with you guys too, but it looks like we've got probably 6, I'm going to say, south swells in a row here, about 2 or 3 days apart. They're going to push some surf, not real big, but some surf up into the California Bight, but some warm, clear water, which means here comes the tuna, here comes the Dorado, here comes the Wahoo, here comes the Corvina. They're on their way. So looking forward to that. But really small surf. And you know what's neat about this type of surf, Dave, is like it comes from way far away. It comes from 6,500 miles away from here. So way down by Australia, Antarctica, New Zealand, that zone. So there is a gap or a lull between all of these groups of swells. So you'll go down there and it'll be big. It'll be 4 or 5 waves, real big. and then it will be calm for about 10 or 20 minutes before the next set of swells come in. And that's always really good for surf fishing because it churns up the bottom. And then when the waves mellow out in the lull, it allows you to cast out. And that's when all those fish go wild to feed between when the next set comes in.
I know it's a fun time to fish, gang, with all this grunion and this way slack waves and everything else that's going on. Bill, tell us about this picture right here. Whoops, didn't get it all in there. Sorry. Can you hear me? Nope, we lost Bill again. Bill, we're having some problems, Billy. Billy, you're gone. You're frozen again. You are gone. I don't know, man. Bill's frozen solid. So we're trying. Now he's back. There you are. Hi, can you hear us?
Issues. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
Awesome. So sorry. Welcome to the mountains.
All right, so let's try this picture. I didn't get the whole part of that picture. Who's that?
Okay. So this today I was going to talk about my Uncle Peter. We'll call him Uncle Peter. So this is a picture of my grandpa, my dad, who's the little baby. He was probably around 1 then. And then my Uncle Pete, who's on the left there, who's about 7. And he's about 2/3 of the size of my grandpa already. He was a big kid. So when my grandpa came back from the First World War, he and my grandma lived with their parents on Jefferson, I think it was Avenue back in those days, right by the USC campus there. And then in around 1920 or so, they moved to Hermosa Beach. And in 22, my Uncle Peter was born in what was known in those days as the Los Angeles Hospital, which is where my dad was also born. And I think that became the Good Samaritan Hospital where I was later born. So those are them as kids, and they're standing on a piece of property by the La Venta Inn in Palos Verdes. And you can't see the background, but the background there is of the beach, Redondo Beach, and Torrance, the city of Torrance, right behind it there. So that's how they got their start. And when my dad and his brother were kids, my grandma, their mom, would often say to them, boys, I need you to go down to the pier and catch me some fish for dinner. Your dad will be home around dark tonight. So one day she sends the kids down to the pier and she says to Pete and my dad, Bill Sr., okay, go down there, get us a nice halibut. That's what we want for dinner. So my dad said they went down to the pier, and you could walk out on the Hermosa Pier in those days in the early 1930s, and you could look into the water, and it was so clear that you could point to the halibut that you wanted to catch. So they tried and they tried and they tried, and when the end of the day came, they walked home with their fish. And when they walked up to my grandma's home, and they lived on, I believe it was called Oakview, which was the closest street to the ocean in those days. Later, she moved to 22nd Street right on the sand there. But when they got home, my grandma was really mad at them. And she said to my dad and to Uncle Pete, I told you your dad wanted a halibut for dinner. And my dad and my Uncle Pete said to my grandma, we tried, Grandma, but we couldn't get through the albacore to get down to where the halibut were. There were so many halibut around the pier, but you couldn't get to them because there was an equal amount of albacore constantly circling the Hermosa Pier. And you'd cast your bait out or your lure out, and it'd probably make it 2 or 3 inches under the water, and you're hooked up.
No way.
As time went on, Pete grew up, and he grew up quick. He was a star basketball, football, baseball player at Redondo Union High School. So in the late 1930s, when I think he was 18, he enlisted in the Merchant Marines, and he was in the Merchant Marines until 1941. He was there for, I believe, 3 years. And oddly enough, because he had enlisted in the Merchant Marines and been in the Merchant Marines, he was not drafted or required to go to World War II. For those of you who know, historically, many of the young men who went and fought in World War II, I can't speak for the women because I'm not sure about them, their average age was 25 years old. In Vietnam, our average age was 18. So they were older. So all of the mature men, basically, they went off to war. Well, Pete had worked out a deal. He had a 22-foot Monterey, and Dave will know what a Monterey is. That's basically a double ender. It's got two bows on it. And he would drive that Monterey up onto the beach in Hermosa Beach. He was a commercial fisherman then. And on the beach in Hermosa Beach, and leave all of his gear on the boat, and then go to what he would call then his home, and go and get something to eat and go to sleep and get up the next morning and go to work, which was walk back down the beach by the Hermosa Pier at the right tide and push the Monterey into the water, get back out there and go fishing again. Well, he worked out a great deal. He lived in the storage room, I guess you'll call it, for the lifeguards and the junior lifeguards. Junior lifeguards started in California in about 1935. So he worked out a deal with the mayor of the Hermosa Beach. And this was the deal. One lobster a week meant that he had free rent to live underneath the pier. So him and this buddy of his who fished together, they lived under the pier. Like sand crabs living under the pier. And his buddy, after like a year of it, had it up to here. Like every time they met a girl or something, where were you bringing her home to? Underneath the pier. So none of that was working out. So his buddy decided that he was going to go up to Hollywood. Up on Hollywood Boulevard was the YMCA. And back in those days, the YMCA was a legitimate place that not only had a big swimming pool and places to work out, but it also had housing. And soldiers after the war came and lived in a lot of that housing. So his buddy lived up there, and he lived under the pier. Well, one day he goes home to see his mom. He comes out from underneath the pier and fishing all day, and stopped by to see grandma just a few blocks from the pier. And she said, "Hey, your buddy came down, Bruce, I think his name was, and he said, you've got to get a hold of him as soon as possible. Call him up at the YMCA." So he called up there, and he said, Pete, I think I got a job for us. And he said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, they're having this audition at Paramount Pictures for movies that are coming up, and I think we should go to the audition. So he said, "Okay, that sounds like the audition." He said, "That sounds like a good idea to me." So they drove up to Paramount Studios, and they had their surfboards hanging out of the back of their car. And they drove into the front gate, and the guy said, "Well, what can I do for you?" And they said, "Well, we're here for an audition for a movie." And they said, "Well, this is the gate that the stars come through. You got to go around the back where people like you come in." So they went around the back of the studio, and they pulled in, they got out. There was a big studio they walked into. It was like a big hangar. And they had these young men lined up, probably 15 of them in a row. And they told Bruce and Pete to get in line with them. Well, this is the thing. Back in that, so that is 1942 when the war is raging now. We had been in the war about 6 months at that point. And they looked at all of these men and they had them read. Well, this was the problem. There was Pete, who was about 25, and there was his buddy who was about 25, and everybody else was about 17 or 18 years old. So they were chosen for these parts in the movie because they themselves looked older. And so he was in several movies. He was in Till the End of Time with Robert Mitchum, who was a good friend of his. He was in the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo with Spencer Tracy, and a bunch of other movies, TV shows, and films that Pete was in. So Pete was a movie star. So he had been a star at Redondo Union High School. All the kids looked up to him. They'd always ask me, not how my dad was, but how my Uncle Pete was. Nobody ever wanted to know how my dad was. And then Pete went into the movies, and I tried to find the picture. I couldn't find it. But when Pete got out of, made his first movie and got back from Hollywood, Florida, because that's where they made the movies in those days, he bought a brand new car. And there's a great picture of him and my dad standing in front of the car. Well, he got in an argument with really with the studios about a part that they wanted to give him that he said another actor was a better actor. and I'll tell you that story later, and that he didn't want to be in the movies because in this particular movie, because this was a better actor. And they told him, if you decide not to take this movie, you'll never be in Hollywood again. You'll never be in a movie in Hollywood. And that was exactly what happened. So
Wow.
now we're around 1950, early 1950s. And that would be that second picture that you're going to show. And that is Pete sitting next to my grandma at their house in Hermosa Beach. I think that's around 1952 when the first TVs came out, and
Yeah,
they would invite
Shop
everybody
I'm sorry.
there you go. They would invite everybody in the neighborhood in Hermosa Beach to come over because there was their home, and my grandpa was a stockbroker, and there was another home, I think, of an attorney who owned a TV, which were like 5 inches by 5 inches. And they would invite the neighbors to come over and watch television with them. The neighbor
I don't know what happened, Bill.
Oh, did you lose me again?
Yeah, but we're
I'm
both
back.
back now. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, we're both off now, or are we on
No,
now?
we're back. We're back.
Okay. So they built these reconnaissance boats for the Korean War, but in the meantime, the owners of Willard Boats, and right next to them was Ditmar Donaldson, where all of Bill Poole built his boats. So they said, hey, we want you to go out and get some clients for us. So Pete went out and got certainly their biggest client ever, Harry C. from C's Candies. And Mr. C wanted them to build him and this is the thing, to this day, I still don't understand, but a research vessel. So they contracted to build a 126-foot, 200-ton, all fiberglass boat in Costa Mesa. When it was finished a few years later, it was the biggest fiberglass boat built in the world at the time. As a matter of fact, they didn't believe one could be built over about 80 feet. They used a gigantic mold to build this giant boat in. So here's a look at the boat. So when the boat was finished, they decided that it needed to be launched at the Lido Boatyard. Now, from Costa Mesa down Newport Boulevard in those days, the 55 now, but Newport Boulevard in those days, it was about 5 miles from where the boat was built to where it was going to be dropped in the water. So they started to move the boat around midnight, and it took them 10 hours to move the boat 5 miles and finally get it in the water, this gigantic boat. So within the first few minutes, with less than an hour of beginning to move this boat, 4 of the tires popped. It was so heavy. And they had used aircraft tires on this gigantic trailer that they were using, thinking that those were so strong from these aircraft landing and all this pressure that right off the bat, 4 of them popped. So the whole thing slowed down. They blew their tires. They had to get those replaced. Well, once they got the tires replaced and they started moving the boat, the next problem they came across is the California Highway Patrol showed up. This is about 1 o'clock in the morning. And they came to review the permit. Well, they said that the permit was inadequate for moving the boat. And so now they were stuck with the boat on Newport Boulevard. But within a little while, a half an hour or so, the CHP talked to their people and changed their mind and decided that I think we can move the boat down the road. And here's our next picture. So there is the boat as it's making it down the road. Now, what they were really afraid of was that the bridge that the boat was going to go over, which was called back in those days the Arches Bridge. So that's the bridge that goes right over Pacific Coast Highway, and that is now Newport Boulevard, or the 55 that goes over Pacific Coast Highway. Underneath the bridge to the left is where the Arches butcher store was. I think it's still there. And of course, that was called the Archer's Bridge back in the day. That name has been changed. So after some real consternation and worry, they made their way across that bridge. But what they had to do to get to the bridge, and what they didn't realize, and they thought they had everything planned out, was the Edison company. After those tires blew, they had to show up and they had to take down the power lines and many of the street signs all the way along the route and then put them all back up again in order to get this boat into the water. So finally, after 10 hours, the boat cost $1.7 million to build. If you can believe that. A boat that size today would probably be $20 million plus, I would guess. The Silverado finally made it down to the boatyard, was launched into Newport Bay, and off it went. Now, one thing over the years that I always thought was odd was not only that they had called it a research vessel, which I think might have had something to do with the tax on it. I'm not really sure. But what would happen often was my uncle would take the Silverado from LA Harbor or from Newport Harbor and sail it all the way to Hawaii. And then the Seas Candy family would fly in. They would spend a month or so there and go out back and forth on the boat. And then without them, it would be brought back right back to California. And that is exactly what Dave is doing today. So that's the story of my uncle. Incredible life that he led. He died in 1982. Just a wonderful man. Really an interesting person.
Yeah, what a cool deal about that boat. I didn't know anything about it. I know my dad told me all about when they launched the Searcher. Him and my mom were down there. That was kind of a big deal. But I didn't know anything about that boat you were just talking about. That's insane. Pop the aircraft tires. Nobody ever told me about any boats popping tires from the Ditmar Donaldson. But to think of the way that they moved that boat down, if you were to go to Newport Boulevard right now and see what that's like, shut that whole thing down to launch a boat, take 10 hours. That's incredible, Bill.
And you've got a 200-ton boat going over that little bridge. It's really amazing, And I have the original. Actually, I have a couple of them, but I have the original article right here, out of the Daily Pilot, which was the South, Orange County, really, newspaper back in those days. And what's really cool is and I've got some older ones, but when you look through this one, so the date on this newspaper is Sunday, August 25th, 1974. So that's when Dave and I were in high school running around like a bunch of idiots. It's hilarious. When you look through this and you look in the back here, for example, you look at the products that they're selling, which we buy today, and you look at the prices, you're like, wow. One of the amazing ones in here is that was right when Temecula was starting to grow. Back in those days, it was called Rancho California. And between $8,000 and $14,000, you could buy a house there. Now those same houses are $1 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on a second. We got the great Todd Maner calling in to talk about the CCA dinner. Todd, good afternoon.
Hey, Dave, how we doing?
Good. You are live on the show with Bill Varney and I. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you. How's everything going down there?
Oh, we're not. You told me we'll be getting some paperwork around 4 o'clock. So we'll be getting up to beautiful LA about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's a process. You got to love it. So, yeah, the CCA, Anthony Shea, Conservation Award's going to be amazing. I think we have over 300 people signed up to come. It's going to be an amazing dinner. It always is. It's at the Long Beach Grand. I can't wait to see you, buddy.
I'm excited to see you too, my friend. Dang, do I got you busy or what? My goodness.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm coming or going. I spent all morning with. We had over 400 students at Dana Wharf. With your sister at Dana Wharf whale watching, and I hosted a portion of that on the Dana Pride, and then I ran over to the shipyard with a client that you gave me 9 years ago, Leon Swalls, and his boat out of the yard and put it all back together solo, and now now we're just getting ready for the next adventure of the day.
You also listed yesterday another one of my good friends, Terry Crowley's boat. I've caught a lot of tuna and a lot of lobsters on that boat. You listed that. That's a beautiful Cabo, right?
Absolutely. It's a very beautiful Cabo 35 Express. He's done amazing work at keeping that boat up and keeping all the maintenance records. He hasn't held back. If it needed something, he got it done. Really, really nice boat. It's going to make somebody a wonderful boat, and we're hoping to put him in something a little bit bigger and a little just a little upgrade. So I'm excited for that and for everybody involved, and thank you for that one too. And I think the list goes on.
Yeah, and then we're on this 61 Viking. I'm bringing up to Long Beach, and then Todd Maner going to be in charge of getting this thing back into shape. This thing sat over in Florida, and the owner, he just didn't want it anymore, so it kind of sat there. And unfortunately, when you don't do any maintenance to a big, beautiful boat like this, it takes its toll, and Todd's going to get to see that. And Todd and I will document the resurrection of this beautiful boat. Our good friend Matt Murray was able to get this for a really good deal, gang. He understands it's a project boat, but he asked me, hey, I got a project boat. Who do I get? I said, nobody else but Todd. There's no one that can make things happen like you, Todd.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I was watching you guys last night live, put the boat in the water. It looked great. It's got great boats. It might be a project boat, but if you can put that thing in the water from Ensenada and run it up to Alameda Bay, it's got good bones. So we'll make it work. We'll make it really beautiful.
Oh, I know you will. And this thing's a Viking. It's a 61 Viking. There wasn't a lot of 61 Vikings built, so it's kind of a unique opportunity. It's got some beautiful MTUs in it, the old MTU engine. So going to have to get Lance or Bruce involved in that part of it, which those two guys are busier than heck. But when Todd calls those two guys, they actually answer his phone, which is kind of cool. When I call them, they let it go to voicemail because they know I need something. When Todd calls them, I don't know why, but they answer him. But hey, I got Bill Varney on here. We were just talking about how good the fishing's starting to look. It's starting to come together real quick, and it's early, right, Todd?
Yeah, there's some really good island fishing already starting to happen. I was out today. The water's cleaned up tremendously. We've got a lot of anchovies. I'm waiting for the surprise this year. I'm waiting for the reboot, and we'll see what happens. But guys are already starting to get some pretty good sea bass fishing in. Some guys are starting to see some yellows. It's going to be a great year.
What about, Todd, why Bill's here with me? What about this big bonita that's biting day in and day out? Remember you and I when we were kids? That was like, oh my gosh, when those bonita would show up in Dana Point, those 8 to 15 pounders. Oh.
Well, when we were kids, that's how we started the day. Depending on what your trip was, on a 3-quart day, though, you leave the harbor and you'd put out 4 bonita lures and you'd start dragging them up to Main Beach or Treasure Island. If you didn't get a bite by then, you retreated and went and did something else. But usually we get on those big schools, and gosh, they were fun. And there was actually a really good article on social media the other day about how delicious the flesh is of bonito. And a lot of people don't realize how good bonito is. It just has a short shelf life. So if you're going to eat it in poke or sashimi, eat it day 1 or day 2. If you want to cook it, the best thing to do is to cook that stuff and let it cool and make tuna salad out of it. It's fantastic. Just if you're fishing bonito, just don't plan on freezing it. Plan on eating it, but it is delicious. I lived off it. I used to cook it on the manifold of the Cy Polaris in a wrap of aluminum foil because we didn't have a galley.
Oh, yeah, and it's a white meat tuna. It's one of the only, it's like albacore. It's white meat, but like Todd said, it doesn't have a lot of staying power. But nowadays, Todd, with the great deckhand sports kill bags and the RSW systems on most of the sport boats now and stuff, you can keep that bonita just beautiful. Not the way we used to do it in a gunny sack, throw a little water on it every once in a while.
Yeah, it's changed a whole lot. I don't mean to take up your whole show here, but Dave has done a great job at Deckhand Sports at putting together an amazing kill bag. And you're right, Dave. We do have better ways of of taking care of our fish, our products, so that we can have a longer shelf life and a better tasting product. And I can just tell guys, when you catch those, try to bleed them, get them on ice as quick as you can, and those things will turn out fantastic.
Absolutely. And one more thing before I let you go, gang. The guy that introduced me to the phenomenal products at Okuma, brought me over, introduced me to John Bretza, the president of Okuma, is Todd Maner. And Todd's been on the show with John before. Todd, we're talking about the Kavala reel today. That's kind of our premiere of the Kavala this month. And we talk about what a phenomenal reel that is for rock fishing, but also for bluefin because of the crankability, the two speed, the gearing in that reel. It's a great rockfish reel, but man, it can handle those 150-pound bluefin, right?
Absolutely. So Kavala's had a few generations, and even the first generation Kavala, when we were product testing those, we were taking them down to Puerto Vallarta and putting them on those big yellowfin down there, or we would take them up on the ridge, and we were catching just an absolute god-awful amount of marlin released, and they just held up to the task. And yes, they're very versatile. They're just a great price point, and in my opinion, yes, you're right. They will stand up to the test of these bluefin tuna 100%.
And then it's a versatile reel for the rockfish too, with that big power handle. You helped John develop every part of that reel. John Bretza and Todd Maner developed that thing, gang. So you're getting a quality product, and I just had to throw that out there. I know you're way busier, and I'm busy, and Bill's busy, but you take busy to a whole different level. What are you managing? About 120 boats today?
Yeah, a lot. I've got a lot. The phone doesn't stop ringing, but that's okay. I'm just heading to the next one now. I'm heading up to Long Beach. So, yeah, we're in good shape. It's a lot to chew, but I try to figure out how to handle it. And I appreciate everything your saltwater guide does for Manson Marine, McCarty Yacht Group, and I really look forward to seeing you guys at the Anthony Shea Conservation Award.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night. You're going to get to see guys like Todd Maner, myself. Unfortunately, Bill Varney's got some prior commitments, so he's not going to be able to make the dinner. He did sit with me at my table last year, which was wonderful. Kelly really enjoyed you hanging out with us, Bill. But Bill and I and Todd can't emphasize enough how important it is for every single one of you that are listening right now. You got to come to the dinner. You got to participate, just like in the commission meeting the other day when we all showed up. When we show up to this dinner and we donate our time and our money and we have a great meal, but it's not about the food. It's about the camaraderie and being together and meeting Todd and meeting Dave Pfeiffer and meeting Doug Lasco and John Bretza and all the other people in the industry that are going to be there, Chris and Tony. You guys get to meet everybody and talk about our common plan is to keep fishing open in the state of California. And if we don't have CCA on our side, it's going to be really tough, right, Todd?
Absolutely. CCA advocates for the angler. We want to keep fishing alive and well for our children's 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 children. So we are the solution to healthy management in our fishing industry. So, guys, if you haven't, please start supporting, because we can't do it without your help. We can scream as loud as we want, but we need your support too.
Absolutely. What do you got to add to that, Bill Varney?
I have nothing to add to that. I think Todd covered everything. And I see Dan's question about what to wear. So last year I wore a very formal outfit, slacks and a button-down Brooks Brothers shirt. I think I was completely out of my realm because when I sat down with Dave, he was flip-flops, shorts, and hardly a t-shirt. He might have been bare-breasted for all I remember.
Yeah, Kelly said, you can't wear flip-flops and shorts to this dinner. I'm like, dude, Kelly, girl, I'm going to the dinner as Dave Hansen. I'm not going to dress up as someone else. I'm going to go as me. I'm sorry. I have like one pair of long pants that barely fits me. Like Todd tells me all the time, I'm more and more looking like my father all the time. But that one pair of pants that I own doesn't fit very well anymore, and I can't breathe when I put it on. So it's a pair of flip-flop shorts and a t-shirt, gang. That's what I'm wearing. I may have a button-down Your Saltwater Guide shirt that Ron made for me. I'm not sure. But, yeah, that's what Dave's wearing. Don't worry about what you're wearing. Just come, right, Todd?
That's right. Yep. Everybody come as you are. It's all about support, guys. It's not the Grammys. We're just trying to get as many people to support CCA and our rights to continue fishing and be a voice in the management and conservation of California fisheries.
Yes, sir, Todd. And thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to be with us because I know you're busy. I'm going to let you go. I'll call you on my way over to get a taco while we wait for our clearing papers.
You got it. All right. Have a great day, guys. Bill, have a great one, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Todd.
Bye.
Okay, so Bill, a lot of people when you were having that snafu getting on and off were talking to me about the stripers. And with you were talking last week when we were talking how you believe they're following all this food, and then you were talking about the grunion, and then we lost you for a few minutes. I believe that these fish have got to be following that grunion thing because these guys, if you looked at a striper, they got a big mouth. They're not coming in there to eat sand crabs. They're coming in there for those big, slimy grunion, wouldn't you think?
Well, you know, that's one of those things about those striper. They are like an eating machine, you know, maybe like tuna and Dorado from that standpoint. They travel up to 30 miles a day just looking for food. So that's why, you know, people say, oh, I saw them up in the Delta 10 years ago, and now they're down on the border because they have fins and they can swim. And one thing about those stripers, they're opportunistic. They don't have anything specifically they eat. They eat whatever comes in front of them. So I'll give you an example. Like right now with all these grunion in the water and anchovy and a little bit of sardine in the harbors, oddly enough, they've been kind of feeding on those. But in the past, one of my good buddies, he caught a 45-pound striper in Newport Beach. And when he opened it up, its stomach was full of sidewinder crabs. So they eat everything from the crabs off the rocks, sand crabs. I've had many people catch them on sand crabs just this week and last week in San Onofre. And then, of course, they've been caught on hard baits like Lucky Craft and Battle Stars, Rapalas. They've been caught on crocodiles, Castmasters. I mean, strips of squid. Seriously, Dave, I've had reports on just about grubs, just about anything you can think of, those stripers will eat. It's amazing. They are hungry little critters.
Yeah, so what would you suggest? We're down in San Diego. What area would you we're going to go over we're just going to give you guys a little snippet of what Bill's game plans are going to be like. If you haven't seen it, I want you to go check out the website. Bill and I are offering you a free look at Bill's bundles, his game plans that come out on Thursdays, all the phenomenal stuff he has to offer over there on the website. Just don't tell them exact, but kind of give them 3 spots from San Diego to LA where you would look if you were going to go. But don't give them too much because they're going to get the real stuff tomorrow.
For sure. And really the secret to surf fishing and probably most fishing is knowing the conditions. Like once you can figure out the conditions, the beach is not relevant. There's not like one spot. This is the only spot. So if I was to start in San Diego and work my way north, I would look for everywhere where there is either freshwater meeting saltwater where lagoons come out into the ocean or harbor entrances. And particularly in San Diego, in the back part of the harbor where Al fishes, where Captain Al will take you fishing. That's where they will go because, you know, their food will ball up back there. And then as you make your way up north into South Orange County, once again, you're looking for Salt Creek area, any area where you have water, freshwater or otherwise, dumping into the ocean. I'm sure inside of Dana Harbor there's some now. And then when you go north of there, Santa Ana River, Talbert Marsh, Bolsa Chica Inlet. Then you go up into the South Bay, you've got Bologna Creek. And then you go north of there, you've got the Santa Clara River mouth, the Ventura River, and so on and so forth. So normally they are found more times than not in areas where you have moving water, and in particular, either an outgoing water area out of a harbor or a brackish water area like Bologna Creek, where you have fresh water meeting salt water. And traditionally, over the years, it's always been that the stripers were where you found this fresh water meeting salt water, in particular during the winter when it would rain and 2 days later the water's still washing off into the ocean. That's still where you find them. And I think the reason for that is that when fresh water meets salt water, small biotic organisms like plankton die because of the salinity drops. When they die, other small bait fish eat them, which attracts the striper. And that's why stripers are so often found right on the edge of where fresh water and salt water meet.
See, there you go, gang. That's what you're going to get if you log into yoursaltwaterguide.com, become a member, check it out for free for 7 days. You're going to get gold like that. The QR code's right underneath Bill's chin. You can give me a call at 949-374-0786. I'll open the website up to you. I don't want your credit card. I don't want anything. I want you to check it out. See if it's even worth it before you go and spend your hard-earned money, because I don't know about you guys, but I hate it when I get a charge for something I didn't even know that I signed up for. So that I'm never going to do that to you. We refund you your money if you not agree with what we're doing. I have no problem with that. We got a great reputation in this industry. And then you got Bill. Probably Bill and my wife Kelly are the most honest two people I know on the planet. So you're not going to ever get ripped off by us. Check it all out. See if it makes sense to you, gang. I got about 950 things to do in a few minutes, and then we got to get the boat ready to start driving it up north. Maybe we'll get some fuel today because it doesn't run on thank yous, just like your boat doesn't. I want to thank you, Bill, for jumping in here. I'm sorry we went late today. It's just part of the deal, but we got the show in. It sounded big audience today, Bill. Big audience. Bill will go back in and answer any comments we didn't answer.
Yep.
I'm going to be running, so I'm not going to be able to see your comments. Bill will answer any comments you have. He'll explain to you how you can get on and see his bundles and see all of the great things that he does on the website. Thank you all very, very much. We will see you tomorrow. I don't know where we'll be on the planet Earth. Wherever we are, that's where we're going to be. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us. And don't forget, Chad from Hookup Baits is joining us on Friday, and he's got a lot to talk about. So I'll see you guys